Hi gang, Rob here. It's the evening of 22 February 2016. Got a video from the Sharpening Bench for you all this evening. And if you arrived here at this video searching for information about the Chris Reeve Tanto Umnumzaan, which I think is a True North Knives exclusive, I'd like to welcome you. If you're not a regular viewer, please feel free to subscribe. Usually I'll upload 2 or 3 videos per week, mostly knife related, some other gear, an occasional Christian gospel message. Whoops. Let's take a look at this guy, shall we? Or girl. Old knives are women. Kind of interesting. I like one aspect of my sharpening business, and it's this. Sometimes there are knives that are really cool, but I'm just never going to buy them, and I get to handle them for a little while. This is one. Man, I am not right-handed. I am not a fan of the Tanto knife blade shape, and there's this little part of me that says when it's a Chris Reeve knife, especially a Sebenza, it's almost heresy to make it into a Tanto. But you know what? The Umnumzaan's kind of got its own little vibe. And it's not such a bad thing, I think. So I'm not going to get into what makes an Umnumzaan an Umnumzaan. You can reference a couple of my other videos, which I will link for you in the description if you'd like some data on the Umnum. This one's more just to kind of show you this blade. And if you notice, one regular Umnumzaan characteristic that is kind of lost or at least heavily modified on the Tanto version is the harpoon. The regular Umnumzaan has a harpoon swedge that comes almost to a sharp edge, and it goes from about where my thumbnail is to the tip of the blade. The Tanto version has a flat at the top of the spine and a swedge that does not obliterate that flat. You can see that it extends all the way to the tip. So it's different, and it, I think, goes with the Tanto profile of the blade a little bit better than the harpoon swedge might. Now, this one, and I've done a little research, if you guys have ever looked at any Tanto bladed Sebenzas, you know that the secondary edge, or the Tanto portion of the blade, is convex ground in a pretty tight radius to almost a zero grind. Now I don't know if the camera is really going to pick this up well, and I didn't lay a straight edge across this little short run of edge, but this appears to be almost flat ground. If it is convex, it's a huge radius convex. And then from the factory, it came with a micro bevel. So I was in a bit of a quandary. As you guys know, I apply near mirror polished secondary bevels and cutting edges when I sharpen knives. And I was in a bit of a quandary as to what to do up here. If it would have been that normal convex that we see on a Sebenza Tanto, or even some of the Umnumzaans that I've seen pictured, I would have just convexed it and probably convexed it and polished it. So it would have kind of matched the profile of the main cutting edge. But then I got to looking at it. It already was sort of a flat grind and had a micro bevel. And if you notice, the grind line pattern on the Tanto edge is almost the same as the grind line pattern in the swedge on the top of the blade. In fact, they're exactly the same. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave this finish and this finish alone, and then I'm going to do my normal edge here and a polished micro. I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I think it was. And let's see, how it works. We can all argue all day long about how it looks, but how does it work? So the main cutting edge, my normal Sebenza / Umnumzaan geometry, 16 degrees per side secondary bevel, and a skinny little 19-degree micro. And as usual, Chris Reeve S35 VN steel takes a phenomenal edge. Really it does, I promise. Really. Yeah. Nice little push cut for you. But how's that secondary edge do? Apparently it does okay. Yeah, that'll work. That's kind of what it's for, isn't it? That is sharp. And that's so my micro bevel on the main cutting edge is 19 degrees per side. It's about 22 up here at that secondary tip or secondary Tanto edge. But man, super sharp. I mean super sharp. Definitely will catch a fingernail. It probably shaves too. Should we see if it shaves? Let's see if I can do this without cutting myself. Well, apparently it does. Huh. That's not bad for a split and wedge geometry tip. How do you think that looks in an overall envelope? I think it looks pretty cool. I think that Tanto profile goes great with the Umnumzaan handle. And then because it came from True North Knives, you get the cool ACU camo lanyard with the bushing bead. Pretty cool. Well, this will be heading back to my customer Scott in tomorrow's mail. Sorry I kept him so long, Scott. I just had to get a couple videos before they went back in the mail. Super cool knife. Just love the sound that Umnumzaan makes when it rockets out of the handle. These Chris Reeve knives are so slow. This one just came out nice. It's just buttery. Love it. Hard to do slow with the left hand if you're on a wrong-sided knife. This thing's just gorgeous. Gorgeous. Just thought you'd like to see it. So if you're a Tanto guy and you want a Chris Reeve knife and a Tanto, I think this might be the one to get. I don't like it so much on a Sebenza, but in the Umnumzaan I kind of do. Even though you lose the harpoon. It's still here sort of in a subtle way. Pretty cool. That's all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word is sharp.